Hi all, I'm KB21. I'm a former Marvel Snap player that now is a regular Pocket player that also plays in a lot of tournaments, and I judge tournaments from time to time. I'm currently about to interview my former Marvel Snap Alliance mate Munchlacks that recently got third place in a no EX tournament with Greninja Jolteon. We are going to discuss the deck a little bit as some gameplay footage rolls in the background. Alright, so Munch, what was your thoughts going into this tournament? What made you choose this deck?
So this was my first time doing a tournament for this game. I've been meaning to for some time, and this is just the first time my schedule lined up. And I've been meaning to test out, I guess, give this deck a real run in tournament as opposed to just me playing casually online in the client. And I wanted to really test it and see if it held up in a tournament environment. And the fact that this was a non-EX tournament made it better. Um, so yeah, I think my goal was just this is a personal brew that I came up with myself a few weeks ago, and I wanted to test drive it, basically.
Well, clearly it worked out well for you. Third place after all.
Yeah, no, it definitely exceeded expectations for my first run. I'm happy about that.
Okay. So, one of the notorious choices that I wasn't expecting from you, given our mutual community that we're a part of and the feeling of hatred against the card, I wasn't expecting to see red card in your deck. I was a little
I
surprised by that.
Yeah, I was not. So when I brewed this deck up on my own and using it for my own purposes, it did not have red card in that slot. I've been messing around with either a second potion or a second X speed, and I've been going. I've been seeing which of those I prefer.
Hmm?
So red card was mainly because of all of your tournament coverage and you saying, "Oh, having a copy of red card is useful in open decks yeah, an open decks sheet
Open
format
deck
just
lists.
because
Yep.
of open deck list just for
The
like
fair
the
of it.
information. Yes, because there was definitely a few times where I was looking at my opponent's list and I said, "Oh, they don't have red card." And I was able to just hold more things in my hand,
Yep.
and just have the surprise factor. So even though I'm not a fan of red card, especially in this game, and there was definitely a few times where I used it and I don't think it was a good red card, but I think having that pressure and that information, I valued that more than my dislike and low thoughts on the abilities of the card, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. That's typically where I've gotten to with my own opinions of red card. It's something that I like using in tournament play for the simple fact that it's open deck list for the most part. If it's not an open deck list, I would not run red card because I simply don't like the card and I don't think it's that great. But
Mm-hmm.
in tournament play, I do believe that it's important because most of the tournaments that we are seeing are open deck lists.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Part of what you partially kind of answered my next question though. I was wondering what made you choose to run only the one X speed and only the one potion. Did you find that it was only ever one that you wanted in the deck in testing?
so uh, regarding XP and potion is specifically much better a in an EX or an unrestricted format. The main reason I have it in the deck, aside from just general utility, is specifically with Kangaskhan. Um, the potion lets it heal from a lot of very important breakpoints, notably in regular formats. Surviving 3 hits from Mewtwo's 50 damage attack is a pretty important breakpoint that I've found. But one thing that came up a lot in this non-EX format is that it requires it basically forces 2 Blaines to kill Kangaskhan in 2 hits. Um, with 1 potion. So it was still pretty. The one potion was still pretty useful here, but I didn't really find myself needing more than one because usually I just needed the one to get me past a certain breakpoint to just hit one extra turn. Um,
Makes sense.
and as I mentioned, the red card would be one of those items. And through my testing over the past few weeks or so, I think it would probably be another X speed. Um,
I'm
the
not
main
surprised
reason
by
I
that.
have X, yeah, the main reason I have X speed in this deck, and the main reason it's played in a lot of the decks I played in, is it's most useful in the opening turns when, oh, I am going second and I drew my basic that likes going first, and then I Pokeball the other basic, or like vice versa, where
Yep,
it's very good for reinforcing your early draws and making sure you have the right thing in the early slots. But something that's nice about having two is when you are when you're building something on the bench, having two X speeds lets you get Kangaskhan out with only one energy, which is a big deal. Um, so I think if I'm playing this in uh, a non tournament setting or a closed deck list setting, I think it would be two X speeds just for both more flexibility in having it in the early game and making sure um, getting Kangaskhan out because normally my Kangaskhan usually leaves by dying, which is not ideal. But getting to double X speed to get Kangaskhan out is a pretty powerful play.
for sure. Definitely agree there. I also found in some personal experience, and with other deck lists, especially, that I've liked the 2x speed. Like my Mewtwo list that I've been using in tournaments runs 2x speed, but only one potion because I found the potion. One potion is enough to get you past certain breakpoints. You never usually need the second. And if you do, you're probably dead anyways. Um, but the X speed is good, and I've also found in testing with Kangaskhan, double X speed is really good with Kangaskhan just because of the fact that you can, if you do lead with the Kanga, later on, if you have something like Jolteon or Greninja in this list, you can pull it back and easily get to something that's higher damage and gets you more consistent damage versus the Kangaskhan doing its possibility of 60, usually 30, but a lot of the times it's also 0.
Yeah, no, I definitely had the my top four match in particular. I flipped a lot of zero Kangaskhan's, and it was it didn't like I don't think outright lose me the game, but it definitely put me on the back foot just having it sit there and basically be a Snorlax.
Yeah, yeah. Kanga Mama likes to do that sometimes.
Yeah, she's definitely fickle.
Yeah. Now, of course, No EX has found its meta. This is, I think, the third or the fourth No EX tournament that we've seen in the last month or so, month and a half, because there was one just before global release. Blaine tends to be the best deck. So, Greninja, being a water type, obviously has the Blaine's weakness. Did that impact your decision making while you were deciding to play this deck?
Um, I was already like I mentioned that I was more focused on playing this deck and seeing where things landed, but the fact that Greninja is really good into all the fire types that Blaine was running was it was a good bonus basically. Um, so it didn't affect my decision to play the deck, but it did. I felt rewarded for playing Greninja. And while there was a lot of Blaines in the tournament, I saw most of the non-Blaine decks that I saw were Greninja lists, although none of them were running Jolteon.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was like 6 Blaine decks that you faced throughout the tournament.
Yes, because I went 3-1 against Blaine during the open round, and then I faced two Blaines during Top Cut.
Yeah. Yeah, you beat 4 out of the 6.
Yes.
I remember looking at that stat earlier today as I was looking at things and sharing it with someone else too, and they were just like, "Oh my god, that's amazing."
Yeah, I was. That was. I remember my first round was Blaine, and I was like, okay, if this one goes well, I will feel good about the rest of the tournament because if this deck is not good into Blaine, it's not going to be good in an OEX tournament at all.
For sure. Um, how were you finding the Blaine matchups though throughout the tournament? Were they slightly easy? Were they slightly a struggle, or would you say it's more like 50-50?
Um, Off the cuff, I would say they're like maybe 55-45 in my favor. If I had to say, just because Ninetales was a little sketchy, where because Jolteon is exactly 90 HP and Greninja is exactly 120. Those get one shot with or without and with Blaine respectively, and Kangaskhan gets one shot either with Giovanni or Blaine. So I had to be a little careful of Ninetales, but it felt like as long as I drew a reasonable draw, I was able to kind of pick them apart because of mainly Greninja, but also Jolteon can be is pretty. It's on average a 280, which is pretty good damage into the pretty low HP mons that Blaine is running, especially with Greninja on the backline to support. Notably, Greninja one shots both Rapidash and Ninetales when it's in the active slot because of weakness plus Water Shark. So that made the matchup
Yep.
feel pretty good.
Okay. What were some other lists that you faced throughout the tournament that may have caused you some trouble?
Um, I remember in Top Cut, the only non-Blaine I fought was a Dragonite Baby Articuno list, and while that one is a little scary if the Dragonite got set up, I found that as long as my draw was at least somewhat reasonable, I was able to kind of pick through their front line and get to the Dragonite pretty consistently. In part because um, Jolteon only needs two heads to get through Baby Articuno because of weakness, which felt pretty good. Um, and that's actually something I found kind of interesting, is that without intentionally counterpicking in this way, um, I the fact that I was running a water Pokemon and an electric Pokemon meant I had uh, good play into both Blaine and other Greninja lists that were more water focused that were looking to counterpick Blaine,
That was something
which
I
was not
was.
it was not my intention, but I was like, oh wow, because I think my last match of the open round was like a water Greninja deck, and I was like, oh yeah, no, Jolteon just kind of mauled them.
That was something I was thinking of earlier today when I was actually trying the list out in the No EXQ. Because I did try it out with a couple of games, and when I came across a water list, it was like, okay, yeah, Jolteon kind of just poops on this deck because of the simple fact that it's weakness. So they may have have Misty to speed up and be faster, but Jolteon only needs 2 energy, and then it's on average 2 flips is a point. So it goes
Yeah,
pretty well.
yeah. Like ever since I started playing this list, it felt very like glass cannony. And Jolteon is a big part of that, where it's pretty frail. 90 HP is really not a favorable health threshold in this meta, both inside and outside no EX. But it can swing pretty well above its weight class, and an average of 280 from that's pretty good from a non-EX mon, considering that's only 10 below Starmie EX and Pikachu, and it has the capacity to swing higher if you're lucky.
Cool. All right, that was my last question. is there anything that you would like to say? Any more thoughts you have on the deck that we may not have discussed? Anything you'd like a viewer to hear about the deck?
Um, Nothing off the top of my head. I've been messing with this list for a while now, and I've been very happy with it with only some minor tweaks. One thing I will note, people may be tempted to try Vaporeon in this list because they see EVs and the water energy. I did experiment with that for a little while, and I just really was not super happy with it. So try it at your own peril, I guess, if you really like Vaporeon. But I'm very happy with this list. It's a lot of fun. It has play into most matchups, I feel, and then it's just a lot of really satisfying and fluid decision making that I really like.
Cool. I'm very happy to have seen that you or did so well in the tournament, because I'm definitely going to be recommending this to people for the No EX tournament that's coming up on Monday. Hopefully, if things work out for you, maybe you will get to play. But if not, the No EX tournament that is happening on Monday is going to be a semi-regular thing. Arcana MD, running Pocket Pandemonium, will actually be running a No EX tournament every second week. So he's going to be alternating it between No EX and the regular format. So it might be an opportunity for you at a later time to get a chance to try out the deck again.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm glad to put up a good performance and a good deck list that'll be getting recommended to people.
All
Proud of
right.
that.
All right, Munchlacks, thank you so much for the interview, and thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Absolutely, you too.
Once again, thank you for watching. I'll be doing more videos like this in the future, so please hit the subscribe button to make sure you get to see all of my future content. Furthermore, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button and commented on any thoughts you had or anything you'd like to see in a future video. Once again, I'm Kiwi, your resident Pocket player and Pocket judge.